It's a skill Joe Biden could do well to learn from his opponent.
I worked my whole life to empower women. I've worked my whole life to prevent abuse.
You saw him up close as a politician.
Correct.
What kind of political operator is he?
The kind where he smiles, it's like a wolf in sheep's clothing, right?
Here I am in the Senate office.
Long before Joe Biden was a household name across America,
And here's my desk.
Tara Reade worked in his Senate office in the early 90s.
Here's a good picture of Senator Biden.
It was her dream job. She hoped it was the start of a long career in politics.
He was a political hero of mine because I bought into the image. And I really believed he was someone to not only admire, but also I wanted to be like him. Like I had hoped to be maybe a senator or a congressperson someday.
And here's the view from my window.
You sound really happy.
Yeah.
There is my computer. And there's my posters.
I was such like a little puppy, like so eager and happy. Yeah.
Tara says it wasn't long, though, before her political hero turned into a predator.
He would just put his hands on me. He would, whenever there was a meeting or if I would see him, usually he'd put his hand on his shoulder and then he'd run his fingers up underneath my hair, on my neck, and things like that. And I had never experienced that with a boss before, and I didn't know him. It's not like there was like small talk, like where we would, you know what I'm saying? There was no reciprocal relationship or flirtation. There was nothing like that. So it was just very much him coming into a room, putting his hand on me or whatever.
Did you ever tell him, don't do that to me?
No. I was too scared to say that. I didn't say anything.
Did he touch other women?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He just didn't, he seemed to lack boundaries with women.
Some might try to pass the behaviour off as a sign of the times.
Reade was among several women who said Biden had touched them inappropriately.
He's now threatened to undermine his bid for the White House.
No, that ain't right, man. That ain't right.
But it's a pattern of behaviour that remains today.
Those Joe Biden shoulder massages, they're like magic. You should try one. Oh, you have?
Joe Biden recently vowed to be more mindful of personal space after 7 women came forward with claims of inappropriate touching.
I hear what they're saying. I understand it. And I'll be much more mindful. But I'll always believe governing, quite frankly, life for that matter, is about connecting with people. That won't change.
But what Tara Reade claims happened 27 years ago in an open corridor of the Senate is much worse.
So we were alone in this corridor and he said my name, and then the next thing I knew, he pushed me and up against the wall. He kind of moved his body towards me, and then he used his knee to separate my legs. He said, he said, I want to fuck you. And he was whispering in my ear and he was kissing me and I was trying to get away from him. And then when I pulled away,
You right?
He had taken his hands and put them down my skirt and taken one hand and penetrated me with his fingers. And when I pulled away, he pulled back and he looked at me like kind of almost annoyed. And he said, "Come on, man, I heard you liked me." And that's when I could see that he was angry, and he put his finger kind of towards my face and he said, "You know, you're nothing to me. You're nothing."
In Tara's account, it was a senator's word against a first-year assistant. So she kept quiet, only breaking down to her mother on the phone.
She was telling me to go to the police right then, like to go to the police and to keep what I was wearing and on and to go to the police.
Why did you resist going to the police?
You know, they're there to protect the senators and congressmen. They're not there to protect us.
It would be 2 long years in 1995 before Tara told anybody else about the alleged assault, confiding in her neighbour, Linda Lacasse.
She basically said that he had put her up against the wall. He put his hands up her skirt and he put his fingers inside her.
What did you say?
I said, I think you should file a police report. She was upset. She was crying.
Did you doubt what she was saying at all?
No, I didn't.
What prompted you to come forward and publicly corroborate her story?
I felt that I needed to tell the truth.
Did Tara ask you to come forward?
I volunteered.
You filed a written complaint to the Senate, but in it you only mention Biden's inappropriate behaviour. You don't mention the sexual assault. And I'm wondering why you wouldn't mention that, because there is a very big difference between inappropriate behaviour and sexual assault.
Because I was afraid to. I mean, I consciously did that. The way they had it set up at that time, it was you fill out this form and hand it back. I didn't know who was reading it, and I was too scared. So I thought at a one-on-one that I would reveal that and talk about it, but I didn't feel comfortable.
After nothing came of the harassment complaint she says she filed to the Senate in the 90s,
Tara Reade emotionally describing what she says happened in the spring of 1993.
it wasn't until
Describing the
2019 that
then
Tara
Senator
then
Joe
shared her
Biden
story
back in the
publicly,
Senate office.
saying that Joe Biden touched her in ways that made her uncomfortable. But, just like her formal complaint at the time, it was only half a story. She says she wasn't ready to talk about the alleged sexual assault.
So what changed for you? What made you think, nah, I'm going to tell the full truth?
I decided that people needed to know he's going to the highest office of the land. He's running on a platform of character. Well, I know what he's like. I know what his character's like. And he doesn't deserve the presidency based on what happened to me.
In March this year, Reade came forward with what she said was the full story. By then, many in politics and the media were already questioning her version of events.
Did you sexually assault Tara Reade?
No, it is not true.
And Joe Biden spoke out strongly, denying the allegations.
In every case, the truth is what matters. And in this case, the truth is these claims are flat out false.
Joe Biden has repeatedly said this never happened.
I think deep down he knows. Like, I don't know what his capacity is right now. It's not very clear, but I know he knows. He knows.
What do you say to people who say they don't believe you?
That's okay. You don't have to believe me. I'm the one who has to live with it.
It seems there was very little for you to gain in coming forward.
There's nothing to gain. And in my case, I lost everything. I lost work, legitimacy. I lost my reputation. I lost friendships. I lost my housing, everything, money, everything.
There's also so many people that when they needed consolation, when they needed encouragement, when they needed a hug, have been happy to get that from Joe Biden.
It's an allegation that has received little coverage this election. And unlike Trump's accusers, Tara has received a barrage of scrutiny. Do you feel as though if Joe Biden wasn't Joe Biden, your allegations would be taken more seriously?
Absolutely. If he was a Republican. I think the fact that he's an elite Democrat put him in this untouchable position. And the media was biased and people were biased about it.
Former Trump White House press secretary Anthony Scaramucci says, unfortunately, it's just not front of mind for most voters.
I think it matters to some, but it's overweighed, like on the scales, if you will, by some of these big meta forces that are in the United States right now.
If I was a woman voting in America, I would struggle to simply ignore those allegations.
Yeah, but it's on both sides, right? So you've got allegations being made. Remember, one's 75, the other's 78. And I think they grew up in a society that was a little bit more patriarchal than the one we're living in now, so they probably had less sensitivity. But I think people will overlook that are voting for Joe Biden the same way they're going to overlook elements of that who are Trump supporters.
We're entering an election. Are you still going to support Joe Biden?
Yes, I'm totally against Donald Trump. So yes, I am going to support him.
That's an interesting decision because you believe that Joe Biden sexually assaulted one of your good friends, and yet you're going to vote for him to be president of the United States.
I do believe that he did that. And yes, and if he becomes president, he's going to be the president who assaulted my very good friend.
How do you grapple with that?
Yeah, I'm having trouble grappling with it.
Does Tara know that you'll vote for him?
Yes.
Is she okay with that?
Not really, I don't think.
So who are you going to vote for?
I'm not voting in the national election. Maybe next time.
A lot of people died, and a lot more are going to die unless he gets a lot smarter, a lot quicker.
So, did you use the word smart?
It's quite the predicament.
So you graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me.
Another term of Trump.
But I'll tell you, Joe, you could never have done the job that we did. You don't have it in your blood. You could have never done that job.
Or an alternative some say isn't worthy of the task.
Well, it's hard to get any word in with this clown. Excuse me.
Right now, it's anyone's race to win.
You're the worst president America has ever had.
Hey,
Come
Joe,
on.
I was young. I was in my 20s, and he was 53 at the time. He was very at the kind of near the height of his power as a senator at that time. And he knew what he could get away with and sort of just had this like image that he could get away with whatever he wanted.
Invincible.
So. As you know, I'm a lifelong Democrat. I've said that many times publicly. I'm not voting for Donald Trump. I won't be voting Republican. But, you know, one of the things that's the most important thing is legacy. And I looked at my daughter, and when I came forward in 2019, she said, "Mom, he's too powerful." And that was like, now I have to come forward. When she said that, because then it becomes like generational abuse. Like if your generation, because you're around my daughter's age, thinks that you can't come forward with something inappropriate that's happened to you, or something violent or something awful, because the person's powerful, that's not right. We have to stop that perpetuation generationally.
Joe Biden has said women are to be believed. They should start with the presumption that they're telling the truth. Do you feel as though you've been given that presumption?
No, I think that's a hypocritical statement, because that's not been my experience. And he has said that in public, but then what's been happening is with social media and in the media, I've been pretty attacked and smeared. And some of his campaign supporters and surrogates have been the ones doing the attacks.
Kamala Harris is now Joe Biden's running mate after saying that she believed some of Joe Biden's accusers.
Right.
How does that sit with you?
You know, what I am really questioning is on the Democratic, when I was trying to come forward with my full history with Joe Biden, there were many really qualified Democrats running for president, including Kamala Harris. Why isn't she president and the presidential candidate? Why does she have to be VP? And what does that say about our culture that we have to go sideways into getting a woman president, right?
But do you think there is an element of hypocrisy for her to have said that and to now be his running mate?
Yeah, I think there's hypocrisy all around. I think it's a nonpartisan issue, along with sexual assault and sexual, harassment. And what I think, though, is one of the things that struck me was recently she said, "I know a predator when I see one," and that upset me a great deal. Watching that, because it's, again, like being erased.
What do you say to people who say they don't believe you?
That's okay. You don't have to believe me. I'm the one who has to live with it. So ultimately, and some people feel like they have to smear me to vote for Biden, Americans anyway, and they don't have to. Like, I have a friend who's going to vote for Biden. She knows what happened to me, but she's not so much voting for him as simply not voting for Trump. So there's a lot of fear right now in our electoral. So it's not so much about loving Biden as about fearing the current presidency, and it's a very difficult place to be. I mean, it was excruciating for me to come forward, as you know.
It seems there was very little for you to gain in coming forward.
There's nothing to gain. And in my case, I lost everything. But what I want to do is make a path forward for other survivors so that they can come forward and not lose everything in the process of discussing their history.
Hello, I'm Tara Brown. Thanks for watching. To keep up with the latest from 60 Minutes Australia, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also download the 9Now app for full episodes and other exclusive 60 Minutes content.
Here I am in the Senate office. Hi, Ben. Say hi, Ben.
Hi, Ben.
Turn around.
You sound very happy and excited to be working for Mr. Biden.
Shoot, how do you get it to? There we go.
And I'm using a Super 8
There's
camera
the
back
Capitol.
then.
Yes, times have changed with technology.
And here's my desk. There is my computer. And there's my posters.
Were you just wanting to record your time in the Senate?
Yeah. These are pictures of Senator Biden.
And I'm dressed in normal business clothes, but that's generally how I dressed.
What were people saying about what you were wearing in the workplace?
Well, I mean, part of the retaliation was they were saying after the senator had expressed interest in me or whatever, they said, oh, you need to wear longer skirts and you need to, button up and so on and so forth. But this was before that happened, and this is my normal attire, which is normal business attire.
So at this point in your time in the Senate, is Joe Biden already being a bit touchy-feely with you?
It's already gotten weird.
But you haven't told anyone yet?
Right, it hasn't escalated, yeah.
You still look happy though.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
This was the dream?
Yes, it was. I thought this was going to be my future.
Oh, you're so pretty. And Justin?
This is Dennis Toner. He claims to not know me since 2019 and still kind of claims, but you'll see him.
Does he say he doesn't remember you working in the office?
Right, where he was my supervisor. So I went to him and talked to him about some of the things going on. And then when I had my duties stripped via Ted Kaufman, who's the chief of staff, he's the one that carried that out.
So when you say you went to him about some of your concerns, what exactly did you say to Dennis?
I told him about the sexual harassment, about the serving of the drinks that made me uncomfortable, that it wasn't right.
And how did he respond?
He didn't. He just listened and he didn't respond. He said, if you have a problem, you can talk to Ted Kaufman, and so I did.
And now, what does he say about you when asked?
He says he doesn't remember that I existed. And back in 2019, I think they even said they weren't sure if I even worked there, and so I went ahead and got my payroll record, and then they said, oh, well, we just don't remember her.
Has this video ever been seen before?
It has not.
What made you want to put it out there now?
Well, I actually didn't know I had it for a while, and then I found it on my Super 8 because I have a really old camera, and I decided to look at it to see what footage was there because it was really something I'd made for my mom, and she died a couple of years ago. And then I decided this would be good to show that, first of all, how I looked, and that there was camaraderie. Like, they were saying I was an outlier and I didn't go on. It was obvious that, I was very, enthusiastic when I joined the office.
This is Mary. She helps me with robos and...
That's Tara. She annoys us.
And I think the thing that stands out when you watch this is that you were a young, happy woman who was literally embarking on your dream career.
Yeah, lots of giggles. Yes, you heard a lot of giggling, a lot of having, I was having fun, and I was exuberant. There's times when I wish I never would have walked into his office. Yeah, I wish I would have gone somewhere else and worked somewhere else. I thought it was going to be similar to, other people that I worked for, so I was wrong. That was a mistake. I would call it a boys' club because if you saw the Senate back then, that's exactly what it was.
Right. Do you feel like you've found some happiness again now?
No, not yet. I'm there. I'm getting there, though. I'm rebuilding. Right now, I'm kind of still in the middle, and I'm still kind of shocked by some of the things that I've lost, and having my reputation really destroyed has been really difficult, so I'm still navigating that right now. So I'm still kind of in a raw place.
A work in progress, like you said.
Yes.
Hello, I'm Tara Brown. Thanks for watching. To keep up with the latest from 60 Minutes Australia, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also download the 9Now app for full episodes and other exclusive 60 Minutes content.